What's up guys, Matt here coming at you with a brand new release from Hobbyplus. This is the CR18P 6x6 flatbed, and I know a lot of you guys have been wanting a new 6x6. It's finally here and it's really, really good. So with the truck, we do get a manual basic charger, a wheel wrench, and some attachments that look to be like a sway bar style setup for this truck. There are some spots already built into the truck here. We've got ball studs already in the axle here, and then this bar that goes across with a hole in it up here. So it looks like we can attach those to sort of stiffen this up if we need to. If you're hauling something really heavy, I guess it would help kind of stiffen that up, maybe keep it from, you know, rolling so much when you turn if you've got a heavy load on there. So pretty cool that they built that in. Obviously we get a 600 mile LiPo pack, 2S pack with it. I wanted to talk about the transmitter though, because this is a really nice transmitter. This is probably the best transmitter that I've picked up for one of these micros. It's very similar to this one that we got with one of the 10 scales recently. It's got channel 3, 4, 5, and 6 all right here. Channel 5 is going to work our winch. We'll talk about all of that in a minute, but we've got steering and throttle dual rates and trims, steering reverse, throttle reverse, or forward reverse switch, NICAD or nickel metal and LiPo switch. We're just gonna leave that on LiPo, and then our drag brake settings. So very, very nice radio. I've got to give it to Hobbyplus on this one. This definitely takes the cake as the best transmitter that I've used for one of these trucks. One more balm for you guys about this transmitter. So check this out. We've got the disco right here, right? So turn this thing on without the transmitter. Wait for it to start flashing. Hold our bind button here. Turn this on. Look at that. So it also works with the FuryTech all-in-one setup here. So the ESC receiver combo from FuryTech. So I assume that this is going to work with any of these style receivers. So here we have the stock LC80 receiver. It's flashing. Let's see if it'll bind. So usually steering or throttle one is usually a little backwards. You have to kind of adjust it. And then obviously you got to set your trims, but look at that. The only thing is the lights. So, whoa. So this works. Okay, so it works your transmission and your lights. So we could have those lights in low gear. That would work. You just have to cycle through. So you're switching from high and low while your lights are changing. So there we're in low, no lights. There we're just in high. Here we're low with lights. Now we're in high. That's crazy. But it does work. That's pretty cool. Now to go back the way it was, you're just gonna turn this thing on, wait for it to flash rapidly, hold your bind button, turn this on, okay? And then everything works just as it did before. Lights still all work. Winch on the back works just fine. 2-speed. Even has neutral. So you're not gonna mess anything up, and you can just take this one transmitter, which is a much nicer overall transmitter than any of these others we've been getting. I feel like the pots in these dials are going to be much better, hopefully, with this being Fly Sky. I know they're all kind of Fly Sky, but this feels much more premium. So if you're taking this out, you're probably going to want to have a controller for your other truck if you're going to do any kind of recovery type stuff, but you can get away with less transmitters. And this has a great feel to it. We're going to put a foam wheel on this thing for sure and use that more often. So with another probably best in its class feature, this body system is great, okay? So you've got these two levers down here. Just push them in, comes right up. Now you can sort of force it when you're putting it back, but it's actually easier if you just clamp those again. And look, this is not coming loose. I mean, I can pull on that thing pretty much as hard as I can without breaking plastic, and it's not gonna give. So just absolutely amazing latching system on this body. Works very well. The front, obviously, you can see is on a hinge. Battery, ESC, everything up underneath here. Let's plug this thing up, take a look at the lights and the functions, and then obviously we got to go run this thing. So the ESC here you'll see is an FS-HBP-R6A3-BS. That is some BS, right? But anyways, let's power up our transmitter here. So for our lights, they're on the channel 3 button. Just tap it. You can see we've got headlights with no turn signals. Bump it again. We've got turn signals. So it's nice. For those people that like the turn signals, you got them. For the ones that don't, you got it, right? Hit your channel 3 again. Lights are back on. Hit it again. Look at that. And the other thing is, check this out. All the way down the bed, we've got lights, tail lights, reverse lights. Look at that, actual reverse lights. Let's go. So we've got that without any turn signals. I think, again, okay, we've got flashers with all of the lights on and then off. So you pretty much got your pick of what sort of lights you want to run. When you hit that and turn on any of the lights, you do have all of the bed lights and your brake and reverse lights. So I like that when you're driving, those dim a little bit. I've got it in neutral right now. Let off of it, it's like your brakes are on, and you hit it, you've got reverse. See how that gets a little brighter? You're driving, let off, your brakes are on, right? So very cool. Now the transmission is on this channel 6 switch right here, so that's why I was in the center neutral position. Flip it this way, we're in low. We do have that slack in the drive line. That's one of my only complaints with this 2-speed is when I hit this trigger, watch. Hear that motor turn? It takes it a second to engage because you've got that slop in there. So that's a mix of transmission and portals and everything, but flip it to high. We've got a high speed. So this thing's gonna trail very well. And then this is our winch on the back. So you can actually run this thing out just a little bit at a time. Or you can just hold it, run it out. It's got a very long lead on it, like very long. You're not gonna need all of it. And then you can bring it back in a little at a time, right? So it's actually, you can reach it pretty well here, especially if you're driving with 2 hands. You hook this thing up. You can bump this while you're bumping the throttle, or give it a little slack while you're hitting the throttle. Very nice. Seems to work really well. So I wanted to show you guys a few trucks on the back of this just so you could get an idea of how they fit. This is my Evo Pro. It is sitting very wide with these wheels and tires. I actually need to narrow this thing back up a little bit, but I just kind of like these wheels and tires on it. But you can see it's a bit of a stretch with the way it's sitting. So a super wide rig, going to be a little tight on here. Length, no issue. The Ascent 18 fits pretty well. Actually fits really well. So you can raise the rails back up on the sides. Fits perfectly on here, the Ascent 18. 24M, now this looks great on here in my opinion. So this being 18th scale, kind of hauls 24s better in my opinion. An SCX 24 is going to be around the same size as this, maybe slightly larger depending on your build. If you got something sitting kind of crazy wide like this, what about that, guys? Brand new one coming soon. Video in the works on that. But if you got sort of a custom build, depends how wide you're sitting, it may be a tight fit. But that fits pretty good, and that's about where I normally run these things. So pretty good fit there. TRX4M. This has got a lot of weight to it. So you'll see why we need those sway bars, right? First turn you take, this thing's just gonna be everywhere. This is a heavy rig, so we're definitely gonna need those on here. Gonna at least install one, see how it does. So we'll go over that shortly, but you can see why they included that, and very good on them for doing that. These, in my opinion, just too big. It just looks goofy. And this one, sort of the same. It just looks too large on there. I mean, you could definitely do it, but it just kind of looks odd to me. So it's going to pull or haul the 24s better, in my opinion. Here's like the LC80. That actually fits pretty well. Looks a little large, you know, compared to what this would probably be in real life compared to a real vehicle. I don't do the math. I'm not that big of a nerd. It's definitely going to need those sway bar attachments. So we're going to talk about installing those real quick. So we've got some nice scale touches with the hubcaps on the wheels here. We're going to just pull those off by hand. And then it's a 5.0 underneath. Here you can see on the underneath side, we've got a very nice aluminum chassis here. So keeping that weight down as much as possible. It's kind of surprising. This thing doesn't feel crazy heavy for being a 6x6 with this kind of hard body and this bed. It doesn't feel terribly top heavy, I guess because we have 3 axles and everything going on underneath. But here you can kind of see these bars a little bit better. So this is actually going to go into here. We're going to roll this around. There's a hole in it right there. And then you just push this on, okay? And then it comes with a grub screw that this 050 fits really well, that you can run into the end of this. Sort of tighten that down where it needs to be. So let's put at least this very rear on and see how it feels. These do have a little flat spot on them, notched out right there. So when you put these in here, the grub screw pinches down on that flat spot. It is easier to install this without the wheel on. I left one on, took one off, and you can get it in there with the wheel on, just easier to get your fingers in. Maybe just take all 4 of these rears off if you're gonna do all 4, but we're gonna see how just 2 does with this thing. I think we're gonna need all 4 actually, but let's see. So with all 4 installed, it stiffens it up pretty nicely. I do like that they give us the option we can run those, or they're very easy to take off. So if you're more crawling with this, just wanting to do some trailing and a little bit of crawling, I'd say leave them off. You know, you're gonna get a little more flex and just be a little softer in the rear. But if you're really hauling with this, you're gonna strap a truck on here and then drive, you're definitely gonna want all 4 of those on there. You can see even with this 24M that's 100% stock, it is, I mean, it will roll, obviously, side to side a little bit, but it's much stiffer than it was. So I think this is gonna be the way to go if you're hauling at all. Something like this is pretty lightweight build overall. Not bad at all. The heavier you get, the worse it's gonna be, obviously. But you're adding a lot of weight up there. You're probably not gonna be conquering a whole lot of crazy lines hauling something like this on the back. So as far as the body goes, I can't wait to see some people do custom bodies on these. I know you guys are gonna go crazy with this thing as far as customizing it and modding it. Maybe we'll even get a fair RC mod, but they did do a good job with the bumper and lights overall. We've got some wipers here. We've got mirrors that actually just fold in, so we don't have to worry about snapping those off if we do roll this thing over. That's nice. And of course the light bar up top. I do wish clear windows, or at least clear windshield. You guys know that drives me insane. So I'm probably going to pull these window units out of here completely at some point and just put some sort of clear windshield in it. But you know, for now, we're gonna drive it. So the last thing, but certainly not least, before we go out, is this does have ramps built into the rear. So you just slide these out, just kind of catch them on the underneath side, slide them out, drop them down. They are a little flimsy, but trucks don't really seem to make them bow much. I think they'll be okay. And they store nice and easily in the bed. So very nice touch there. When I first got this, I was like, we got to make this bed tilt or do something. So I started taking screws out of it, trying to figure out how I can make it tilt, but you got lights running everywhere and wires, and so that wasn't really going to work too well without doing a lot of work. And then big dummy me found these, so very cool. So I took this thing out to the creek and had an absolute blast with it. A couple things I do want to mention that I didn't really talk about. This does have a 280 size motor in it, so it's got plenty of torque. That gives it a little added weight in the front, which kind of helps it on uphill stuff. Side hill, it does struggle a bit, but for what it is, and especially when you have a truck on the back, this thing actually performed really well, and you'll see. But overall, I was very impressed with this and had a lot of fun with it. A couple more details about this, and then I'm just going to let you guys enjoy the running. It does have the servo on axle. It has counter-rotating rear drive shafts, which help with torque twist, and it has aluminum-capped oil-filled shocks. They are a plastic body, but aluminum cap, and actually they perform very, very well and did a good job at keeping the rear end from just squatting on this when you have a load on it. It's got a nice aluminum chassis underneath it. Seem to be pretty good electronics. You know, the ESC, obviously working with this new transmitter, I love it. Servos seem to do fine. These are, it says water resistant. I always get asked that question, is it waterproof? I would say you can go through and do a little splashing of some water, especially like what I'm doing here, but I wouldn't submerge it, okay? It's just not going to do well with that. But it is all bushings on this truck, okay? A lot of people don't like that. They want bearings. I get it. Most of the time, I want bearings as well, especially in something I'm really trying to perform with. But something like this that I'm going to trail with, I really don't mind the bushings. They are going to wear over time and probably get a little more slop and play in there, but they do I had to say that, they do better in water than bearings overall, and you don't have to worry about them. So a bearing kit you can probably pick up for $15 or something, so it's not that big of a deal. I think besides that, I mean, the truck, it's hard to complain with it. And the slop in the driveline, if I hadn't just had experience with that in like the Evo Pro and things in the past, I never would have noticed it in this truck. Out on the trail, I never would have noticed it in this truck at all. So one thing I wanted to mention real quick with this, when you do put it in high gear, as long as you don't hit neutral for too long, this does have a drag brake that will hold. See that? Now if you bump the throttle, it kind of takes it a second there, but that is in high gear. You guys know on like the FCX, when you put it in high, it immediately just takes off, rolls downhill. You got to hold some throttle on it. I'm not holding anything on this. If I bump that throttle, you can kind of see it takes it just a second, but it will hold. So that makes your transition from low to high very easy on a hill. So if I need high gear, that makes it so much easier. So very nice that this works so well, because that's something that's probably going to be needed on a tow rig like this. You may need high gear on a hill at times, you know, maybe you're hooking up to a truck that's on a slick hill. You're going to try to pull this thing out or pull that truck out. You're going to need high gear. Now, this thing struggles with side hill with those sway bars attached. I have noticed that it likes to roll quick on any sort of side hill. The cab of it, just for one, makes it a little heavy up top. So just know that. That's a pretty tough pull. I don't know if we're going to get that. Oh, she's hanging in there. Oh, lost it. This thing just looks so good. So if you're into 6x6s or just the micros period, this is one you got to have. I'm going to link it in the description. If you purchase through that link, it does help out the channel. It lets these guys know that you're watching this channel. I want to say thanks to HeliDirect for reaching out and getting this sent over to me. So it comes from you guys watching and purchasing through those links and stuff. Thumbs up, comments, sharing the video, all of that really helps out and helps me continue to do these reviews, and these companies think of me when they're reaching out to get people these trucks. So thanks to you guys and thanks to them. I hope you enjoy the video. A lot of stuff coming, guys. So much stuff coming. I've got some very impressive things I'm working on. So till then, peace.